Alright, so today I want to introduce you to Standard Schema, a super useful spec for handling validation in TypeScript. And it provides a common interface for validator libraries like Zod, Valibot, and ArcType, making validation much easier across different libraries. Alright, let's get straight to how you actually use Standard Schema. The key feature of Standard Schema is that every supported validator follows the same interface. For example, if you have a schema defined in Zod, Valibot, or ArcType, you can validate it in the same way, like this: schema standard.validate. And this method ensures that no matter which library you are using, the validation process works constantly. So instead of worrying about library-specific methods, you can just use one interface. So this is a game changer if you are building a library that accepts user-defined validators. Before, you have to write custom logic for every validator library you wanted to support. It's super annoying, right? But if your library follows standard schema, you don't need to do that anymore. Everything works the same way across different validators. So let's take React Hook form as an example. A lot of people use Zod for validation, so they need to use the Zod resolver. So like this. If you check the resolver repo, you see that they have different resolvers for Zod, Valibot, and others, meaning they have to write separate implementations for each one. So whenever a new validator library pops up, someone has to write even more custom logic. But with standard schema, you don't need to create separate resolver, just call schema standard.validate and you are good to go. The latest Hono version 4.7 update adds support for standard schema validator, which means you can now use ArcType, Zod, and Valibot in a unified way. So in this code example, we have a schema using ArcType, and a B schema using Valibot, and a Z schema using Zod. And as you can see, this validator, standard schema validator, can handle each schema with the same interface. This looks really cool. If you're wondering which validator library supports standard schema, there's a list in the standard schema repositories readme. So if you're curious, go check it out. Okay, so let's understand how Valibot handles validation internally and how the standard schema validate method works under the hood. So we have a typical schema definition in Valibot. As you can see, we've defined a user schema. A user is an object with two properties, name and email. The name must be a string, and the email must be both a string and match the email format. Now let's break down how Valibot processes this validation when we run v.parse. The first thing parse method does is call object run internally. And the run method first checks if name is a string, and next it checks email, verifying that it's a string and it matches the email format using a regular expression. And once all checks are complete, run method checks if any issues are found, and if there are validation issues, it throws an error with a list of all the issues found. If there are no issues, the validated data is returned. So now here's where standard schema comes in. Its validate method does the exact same thing because it also calls object run internally. So like this. So that's why even though parse method and validate method may look different, they both produce the same validation results. Alright, let's do a quick recap of what we covered today. So Standard Schema provides a unified interface for validation libraries like Dot, Valibot, and ArcType. You can just call schema standard.validate. And tools like Hono now supports Standard Schema, making validation even easier in web applications. And under the hood, parse and validate are essentially running the same process. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.